And then I have till 1:30?
Yes, and then you have till 1:30. And then just your mouse here or arrows there, either way. And we have a tech person back there too.
Okay. And then how many are looking to go on to graduate school?
Better than half.
Better than half?
PT or OT, most of them are.
I want to highlight on that then too.
MD.
Okay.
I'm going to go back in case you need anything. I may have to get called out. I have Marvin, the computer guy, who's in the middle of trying to fix my computer. So I might have to run it.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. If you can give Laura your attention, all of her information is up there on the screen, and then she's going to take it away. She's got the microphone.
Well, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay? And everybody, thank you. I have to do a little shout out to those up at Lorraine Community College. That's my hometown area, so it's good to meet you all. So let me give you a little bit of a bio. I like to give you a little bit of a bio, my career story, and then I'm going to tell you why I like to give my career story. All right, so I've been at the University of Akron for about a year now, and I'm excited to be here on campus. I did my master's here years ago, fell in love with the university, and said I need to get out there at some point in my career and help the students. Hi. So I came out here from Northeast Ohio Medical University, and prior to that, Kent State. So I always joke and say I just kind of kept driving down 76 and hit every university. I worked out at Northeast Ohio Medical University for about 10 years, working with students who were pursuing a field in medicine and graduate school planning and preparation. And from what I understand, more than half of you are interested in going on to graduate school. So I'm going to make sure I highlight on that towards the end of my presentation. So the reason why I like to give a little bit about myself is that was just my elevator speech. You all should have an elevator speech. Somebody is going to ask you throughout the rest of your life, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's your elevator speech. That is also the first question in any interview, whether it's for a job or for graduate school. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And your career story started the day that you came onto the University of Akron's campus. And it's going to continue to grow. And you're going to continue to add things into your resume. That is your career story. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of go on through some of the resources right in the Career Center. I'm going to highlight on building a resume, formatting a cover letter, the importance of thank you letters, and references. All of the major components to when you are applying to either a job or to graduate school. With that being said, God bless you. With that being said, I hope you're not coming down with this whole cold flu that is going around. Oh, you poor babe. Speak up a little bit. So as I go on through, please, by all means, I do not want to sit up here and bore you to tears and preach to you. We can make this as interactive as you want to. Ask any questions. I enjoy answering questions, and usually the question that you have, the person right next to you, is thinking the same thing. So let me go ahead and dive right on into the Career Center's resources. So there's a couple things I really want to highlight on here. I'm sure you're familiar with the whole resume and cover letter help that you can obtain from the Career Center, but there's a lot more that you can get from the Career Center. The first, individualized career advising. I always say I selfishly like to meet with all of you because I ask that big question, tell me a little bit about yourself, but I like to understand what your career goals are, because once I understand what your career goals are, then I can help you through the next year and onwards if you're going to stay at the University of Akron for any form of graduate school education. So I like to get to know you so I can help you with all the resources that I'm hoarding in my office, because I don't want them. I want to share them with you. The second bulleted point, that internship co-op, full-time employment. Full-time employment is what I really want to highlight on. If any of you are looking for an internship, we do receive internships in the office. But from my understanding, you're all gearing towards graduation this year. Am I understanding correctly? Okay. So really we need to focus on, if it's not graduate school, full-time employment. It is a job to find a job. It does not happen overnight. You're going to be applying left and right. It's the resources that I have that I want to make sure that you get, and to help you get in front of any future employer. That includes that resume and cover letter critique. It's never one and done. You are going to get tired of looking at your resume because you're going to stare at it day in and day out, and you're going to want to soccer kick your computer across your room. That's why I'm here, to help ease the pain of that resume and where should the bullets go and where should the periods and the punctuation go. Your cover letter, it is hard to write about yourself. It is hard to find those buzzwords. And half the time we think, does any employer really care about my cover letter? They do. It's one of the components. They're going to look at it. Job search strategies. I'm going to share with you some resources and then some. This is where I like to make sure I know what your career goals are because I have a lot of job search strategies and resources available. Interviewing skills and mock interviews. I can get on my soapbox for pretty much about a half an hour about mock interviews because my theory is you never wing anything. You don't wing an exam. You don't wing, a paper. You put time, you put effort into it. I'm cheesy. I always say you should feel scared going into an interview, and the reason being is look inside the word scare. The word care is there. You care about your presentation style. You want to nail the job interview. You want to make a lasting impression, or graduate school. You want to make a lasting impression so that they will call you back, if not for a second interview, but call you back for that to tell you that you've been accepted into the program or been received the position. Graduate school planning and preparation, I'd be lying to you if I told you that it's easy. It is time consuming. Graduate school planning entails a personal statement, and you should have a personal statement personalized to each graduate school. So I always say, don't wait. If you're looking to graduate in May and go on to graduate school in fall of 2015, you and I need to sit down now because there's a lot that goes into graduate school planning and prep. Events. Events on campus from the Career Center are career fairs, etiquette dinners, and a whole bunch of other workshops and seminars geared to help you. So tomorrow we have a resume building workshop. I believe it's at 12 o'clock in the Career Center. Take advantage of those. They're there for you. They're there to help you out. Also pay attention to your program if there's anything going on in the program. It's there to help you out. I just went through that really kind of fast. Is there any questions in regards to the Career Center's resources? And I feel like I'm yelling at you so everybody can hear.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. What's the etiquette dinner entail? Does that teach you how to eat properly, or?
It does, actually. So it's going to go over, because there's employers there. Can you hear me okay? There's going to be employers there, so it's a networking opportunity. It's going to go over how to use all the utensils. It's going to go over what to and to not eat. Those pesky tomatoes on your plate probably shouldn't be eaten because they will fly across if you cut them in the wrong direction. The little things. How to have a conversation when it's appropriate and not appropriate, to whether you never should use your cell phone. I say you never should have an alcoholic beverage. So it goes over everything from fine dining to the professionalism. It's a fun event. I've been planning etiquette-related events for many years now, and I'm a big fan of them. It costs all of $5 to go to the etiquette dinner, and that's available to you.
When is this again?
It is on, I'm going to give you the details before you head out today,
right.
But it's on October 23rd. Anything else? All right, so let me just focus on a couple other things. In the Career Center, we focus on 2 areas and 2 function areas. So that choosing a major, you've all pretty much nailed that. So you're right here around this interviewing, resume review, job shadowing, so that you can get that placement piece. I always like to break this down because I like a little structure, systematic. I would be lying if I didn't say I was type A, because I like some system in my life. So that full-time employment, graduate school, and knowing all the job databases. It's never just one job database. So let me kind of go into CareerLink. CareerLink is our job database housing system. So you can access it right from our Career Center's website. If you do have an account as of today, thank you. If you do not, I encourage you to do so. Once you have that account, you can start perusing through and finding jobs in your field. Once you graduate, you will roll over into alumni status. And if you plan to go on to graduate school and then seek employment, you always will have access as alumni from the University of Akron, you will always have access to the Career Link and all of the resources in the Career Center. So on average, we usually receive about 30 jobs to 50 jobs a day. That includes, of course, all majors. So when we receive a job in your field, you're going to get an email from me that says job opportunity, and I usually place the employer and the position they're hiring from. So I encourage you to get a CareerLink account just to eliminate, once you see an email from me, having to go back and create that account. Okay, so who has Facebook? I figured just as much. Do me the biggest favor, I'm sure you all have already done this, but set your securities really, really high. It is a form of screening for an employer because they're going to look at who has LinkedIn. You should have LinkedIn. It is proven to be effective in regards to you can search for jobs. It's a great networking tool. It's safer than Facebook. Even if you do have it, people will use it as a screening process, and you would rather them screen you here than on Facebook, especially if you have photos of you and your friends and your family. Yes?
Do employers typically look for a LinkedIn before they go for a Facebook?
They'll look for it all.
Are they all at the same time? All profiles?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
Yeah, once.
Okay. If you Google yourself and anything that you are not too proud of comes up, I would start cleaning it up. Don't ask me how. People have asked me beforehand. Usually it's a matter of contacting whomever to say clean it up. You never want to Google yourself and find stuff that is not appropriate. So they will look, any employer will look at it all. Any other questions before I dive head first right into the whole resume and cover letter? Okay. Well, it is a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm a little nerd-like. I love building up a resume. So stop me if I get carried away. Sorry, I felt like I jumped ahead. Okay, so why create a resume? How many of you have a resume? Perfect. Perfect. So you know why you're going to create a resume. My biggest piece of advice as you continue to grow in your field, it is never one and done. And it is your marketing tool. Everything in your resume, everything that you want to express to the other side of the table should be in your resume. It is incredibly hard to write about yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back and put it in there, because that's the first thing I'm going to do with you. When I start asking you those big questions, where do you see yourself going? I get excited, and I'm going to help you put it in there. So a couple things that I want to make sure that I highlight. When I say you need one to apply for jobs, continue always looking outside of the box, thinking broadly. Your summer jobs that you've had, your internship experiences, what have you done in the community? What have you done on campus? Have you been in student organizations? Have you been an officer for a student organization? Have you been giving back to the community, to the same organization for 2 years? Have you done something once for a community organization that really meant a lot to you? It should be in your resume. You'll only get busier. This is not just this last year. It is for the rest of your career. You're going to continue to get busier as you move along. And you're going to think about things to put into your resume, trust me when I tell you this, at the most inopportune times. You're going to be brushing your teeth. You're going to be falling asleep. We all have a cell phone. I do this every night. My husband laughs at me hysterically, and not like, haha, Laura, you know, it's like, really, Laura? But I will wake up and I'll think of things and I'll jot it in my cell phone. And then I'll come into work the next day and I'll put it. That's the way that you're going to be thinking about your resume. You're going to do things at the most, you know, throughout your life, and you're going to think about it at the most inopportune time. So before you know it, you'll be ready to graduate. Be prepared. Yes, be prepared. I know I don't want this to come across as cheesy or corny, because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. We want you not only to graduate, but we want you to have that job or be enrolled into your graduate program as you graduate. We don't want you to graduate and be like, holy smokes, I should have done this 6 months ago, because that's why I'm here today, is to help you prepare for the next 6 months. Don't know how to make a resume? That's why I'm here. Don't feel like you have a good resume? I would beg to differ. Everybody has a good resume. We just need to make it outstanding. Haven't touched a resume since you graduated from high school? Perfect. Let's talk about it. Feel like you don't have anything to put on a resume? You do. Do you feel like you don't have anything relevant to put on your resume? You do. So, it's a continual conversation. Okay. I'm not lying when I say 6 to 10 seconds. That's all it takes for anybody to look at your resume and say, I want to learn more. Everybody's different, so I'm going to tell you what I do when I get a resume. I look at the resume. I look for the strong buzzwords. I look for the connections. I look at the resume first. I dive into what you've done on campus. I'll then look at your work experience. If I like what I see, that's when I go through your cover letter with a fine-tooth comb. Then I go and I look at your references to see who you know, who I know, because it's all about connecting. Everybody's different, but that's how I look at a resume. Usually I do one more look at the resume before I give you a call, and then I'll read through it again the day before to help me prepare so I can ask you all the great questions that's going to trick you. That's usually how anybody's going to prepare to get to know you. I hope I did not scare you, but I'm sure I did based on some of the looks I'm seeing as I look around the room. You should be scared because you care about your presentation style. All right. I'm not going to sound corny anymore. That was it. So 6 to 10 seconds. We need to work on getting those buzzwords in there. To stand out from the crowd, 1 page.
What are some examples of some of the buzzwords you mean?
The buzzwords. I love numbers. Anybody loves numbers. Facts, figures, strong adjectives. You can say I organize, but what did you organize? So when you see those 1 word, 2 words, what did you, start getting philosophical with yourself and say, how did I organize that project? What did I gain from that experience? Walk yourself through a day of your work and you'll be able to add in more words. These are hard words to come up with. These are hard words to think of beyond the traditional I organized this. We don't use first person, excuse me. So organized, managed. It's hard to think beyond those words. That's where I come into play. I'll help you come up with a strong statement in your resume. I'm also going to share with you a great resource that's one of my favorites too to help with those words. So resume, 1 page. With that being said, for those of you especially that are going on to graduate school, you can have 2 pages. And I say this very cautiously because if you have 2 pages, it really should be probably about 1.5, and it really should be very much relevant. Not that we devalue the retail or the food industry position that you may have had. If it's not 100% relevant, then I would possibly suggest slipping those right on off. That's more of a discussion so between you and I to make sure that it's not all of a sudden leaving your resume bare bone. Easy to read. I have a trick with that. When you're putting together your resume, in your head, like subconsciously, you're putting it into a sentence format. You're saying, I was, and I'm just going to use waitress as an example, I was a waitress at Longhorn in Akron, Ohio from 2013 to present, and my responsibilities are X, Y, and Z. Once you say that to yourself, you know that's how your audience is going to read it. They're going to put it into sentence format as well. And you also know you have all the nuts and the bolts in your resume. Of course, you won't have first person in your resume, but that will help you put everything you need in your resume. And it'll be easy to read on their eyes. It's all about making it easy to read on your audience at the end of the day. I always have to put the no typos in there, only because you will be staring at it day in and day out. And that comma or punctuation point, like I was saying earlier, you're going to slide right on past it because you've been looking at the same statement for 6 weeks. Cover letter. If you were only given 1 minute to impress a recruiter, what would you want in that cover letter? You can make it your own. You can make it paragraph format. From what I understand, you all have the cover letter guide that's offered in the Career Center. Look at the templates in that cover letter guide. It's on your Springboard class. There's 3 templates in the back. There's a couple, God bless you. There's a couple with paragraph format. There's one with bullet format. So you want to just think about how it will be memorable to that recruiter. Okay, so my 2 big things in regards to a resume. It's a puzzle, and it's a bio to you. So there's 2 forms of a resume: chronological. Most recent graduates use a chronological resume format. Then there's functional. I tend to go towards functional. It's not going to make or break you. As fast as I say, most recent grads use chronological. If you choose to use functional, it's not going to make or break you. It's only going to help you. Functional is when you can start puzzle piecing around your relevant experience and keeping it towards the top. So with that being said, I added some title lines here, some categories to consider as you continue to build your resume. But I want to point out a couple things that I want to make sure you all have in your resume. Of course, the header, the name, the address, and so all your contact information. Your name can be bigger, somewhere, wherever you want it, 14 to 16 point font. From your contact line on down, it should be consistent, somewhere between a 10 and 12 point font. And I say that for a very good reason, because we're going to get all of your information in there, and what I call cosmetic surgery to the resume is the last step in the completion of your resume, playing around with the font and the margins and making sure it fits onto that one page if needed. Okay, so education. I'm just going to break it down in regards to formalities so you all know at this point what should be in there as you get aimed towards graduation. Of course, the University of Akron, the degree in which you're graduating from, anticipated graduation. It should say anticipated or expected graduation, May 2015. Is there any December grads, so I can make sure? Okay, so for December grads, December 2014, May 2015. The hour after which you graduate, slip out anticipated or expected, because you are now graduated. If your GPA is above a 3.0, your GPA, it should be your cum. And I'm so sorry, let me jump back up. If you have a minor, make sure your minor is slipped in there. Your GPA. Dean's list, you can put that in your education. If you are on the Dean's list all semesters, all you need to state is all semesters in parentheses. If you are on the Dean's list selected semesters, you want to list those out. You can get those on your DARS report. I'm a little bit of a mama hen. I always say if you were recognized and you worked hard for your academics, make sure they're highlighted in there. You worked hard. You received them. You can create, there's 2 things. You can create another, let me see if it's on here, another section for honors and awards and scholarships recognition and list any other scholarships. If you have 1 or 2 and don't necessarily want to create another category line, you can slip them into your education. If you are an honors student enrolled in the honors college, make sure that's in there. If you are in the honors college and you have done research with the honors college, make sure you add the title and make sure you add the principal investigator, the faculty member in which you've done your research work. If you have presented at the UASIS, which is the University of Akron Student Innovation Symposium, make sure that that's included. If you have not considered doing so this fall or this spring, it will make your resume look great. Upon graduation, if you graduate honors, cum laude, whatever it may be, make sure that you include that in your education. Any questions in regards to education? I just threw a... Yes?
I have one. I have on mine, since I'm looking for a coaching job and/or athletic director job. I also put the fact that I played 2 years of college baseball at LC. Where would that go? Should I put that on my under the education tab, or where?
You can put that under education. You can also put that if you have a tab for leadership or campus and community involvement. That's another place that you can put your baseball experience. For any athlete, definitely you want your experience on your resume. So you can put it under, but like if you were the captain of whether it be baseball or another sport, you want that to be on your resume also, and that's leadership. So you have a couple options in regards to where you can put that. Education or leadership or campus and community involvement. Another point I want to make in regards to education, if you are a post-secondary education, you have that behind your belt, you want to highlight that in your education. If you attended any other university, you want to make sure you highlight that on your resume also under education. For those of you that are going to go on for a master's degree or any other further education, you don't need to worry about adding that now. You will add that upon acceptance into the next university. Sound good? Yes.
How far back would you say is like to make it relevant? Like 6 months? Like just because I've got like a lot of things I did when I was like in high school and stuff. But now that I've been in college for a few years and stuff, does that still make that relevant?
Good question.
Or does it kind of fade away because it's not been within the past few years?
Good question. So the question was, if anything from your high school career should be on your resume. There's a couple areas that you can make sure that you do. That's the post-secondary education if it's in high school. Work experience. If it was a seasonal position that you have been doing since you were in high school and you still are doing it, then it can be on your resume. If it is relevant to your field, then it can be on your resume. I'd like to talk about how the relevance so that there's no red flags for you, but for the most part, your resume should be reflective at this point, everything from undergrad moving forward. So your high school, you don't need to add in your high school education in regards to where you went or if you were on the National Honor Society or any like relevant coursework. I've seen that. You don't need to add that in, or work experience. So like if you worked at, in the food industry, you don't necessarily need to add that in unless you are going to go back and work at that restaurant, but you don't need to add it in. Did that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Okay, so relevant coursework. I'm going to combine relevant coursework, relevant projects, and internship experience. Now, with relevant coursework, be cautious because this can start taking up a lot of your resume space. You don't, of course, want your gen eds. You want it to be relevant to your major. When I mean relevant projects, is there something that you worked on in your undergrad that you saw come to fruition? Add it in. If you had a heavy hand in the planning part of that project, add it in. Internship experience, obviously, you're going to add it in. And this I would keep right up at the top because it's relevant to your field.
For us athletic training majors, we have to do clinical hours. Where do those factor in?
Those factor in right after internship. It's relevant. You're going to want to keep those clinical hours right on in. So thank you for asking this question. The key thing with clinicals is you're going to want to make sure that you add in where you did it, when you did it, and how many hours. If you've done any shadowing, the same thing. Who you did it with, where you did it, and when you did it.
For shadowing hours, should we provide some sort of a sheet, like listing the hours with this?
I would say if the employer or the graduate school requests that, you don't need to add it into your resume or as like an appendice. You just need to add in who, when, who, where, and when.
Okay. Thank you.
Or whatever best format you want. Did I answer your question okay? Okay.
Did you say it goes under internship?
I would create your own category line for both your clinical, not rotations, excuse me, your clinical experience and your shadowing experience. It's separate than your internship. Okay, so that work experience. I'm going to give you a trick with the work experience. So you may have relevant work experience. Focus on that. So you can do, like, I love the word professional. I'm going to bore you to tears with that word. So you could do professional work experience. Then you could say other professional work experience. If you want to list where you may have worked that is not necessarily relevant, but just to show you haven't been sitting around twiddling your thumbs, that you've been working hard in school and also maintaining a job. So with that being...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope. Go.
What if we were sort of self-employed and kind of working under the table, like what I do now?
Am I allowed to ask? What do you do?
I clean house and do laundry. for
Yes.
two families.
So it's self-employment. Private residence.
So say if like you worked at the same place but you moved up, so like in positions, do you put each position as a different block of work experience, or do you just put your current position, like title?
This is a great question. So the question was, what do you do when you're promoted within the same place of employment? I love the word promoted. That means that somebody valued you. They valued what you were able to contribute to the place of employment. So what I would recommend is listing the place of employment, and then you can go whatever you like format-wise, but to be systematic, you can go right underneath and state your position and the date, the next position and the date, and so forth. And then your first bulleted point, promoted within company, from the first position to the last position, we will come up with a nice strong statement to say that you were promoted, because that shows anybody and everybody how valuable you are to the field or just in the workforce. So I get excited about that one when I hear it. So definitely. What else? Military experience. Good question. Military. So if you are in the military and have a military background, you are actually going to have two resumes, a military resume and a civilian resume. I will help you with both. Your military resume is going to be all military based. Did you just say shoot? A little bit of work, just a little bit of work, we'll get it. So you're going to have a military resume that's going to be all military based. You're going to want to highlight that. A great place to put your military background just to highlight it in your civilian resume is going to be under like a leadership. What other questions? Yes?
Is that the order that you would like mine?
It's not my resume. It's your resume. So you can put it in any order you want to. I always, thank you for saying that, because I always say, it's your resume. God bless you. It's your resume. These are ideas. So based on your work experience, we will put where you want your experience to be. You don't have to do it in this order, okay? But we'll make sure that the functional stuff's right up at the top if that's what you want. Yes?
So ultimately what you're getting at, to build off of what she asked, you're trying to make it to where whatever you're best at, so say it was internship experience, you want your best attributes to be at the top so that they notice that first.
And it's going to be relevant to your field. So you don't want that to get overshadowed, like towards the bottom. Anything else? Okay, so campus and community involvement. If you've done anything in the community, whether it's one day or reoccurring, you want to slide that on in. Leadership, that's if you're like a University of Akron ambassador, you're in the military, you're an officer, you're maybe on a board, a community board. Just want to highlight on that. With that being said before, because I've already kind of highlighted on awards and recognition, one thing I don't want to forget to say, in regards to that clinical experience, if you have worked on any software systems, add technical skills in. We all pretty much for the most part are familiar with Microsoft Office Suite. If there is anything though that you have done that is specific to your field or that is outside of the Microsoft Office Suite, add it in. People like to see where you've been trained at in other areas. Certifications, if you have CPR, first aid, key thing with that is you only need to worry about putting CPR, first aid in and when it expires. So if you just got it in 2014, it expires in 2016, you just need to put the expiration date. And that's going to be the same for any certifications. Yeah?
What about like non-necessarily relevant certifications?
Did you obtain them while you were in your undergraduate? The question was any other certifications that are not related to your field, your major field. I would add them in. Goes along the lines with training. So if they're for a job, add it in. Shows that you're trainable. What else? Yes?
Where would we put, like, if we're in student organizations, where would that go?
You can put that under something along the lines of campus and community involvement. I would say this year, if you're involved in a student organization, start going to a little bit more because it's a great form of networking. If you have done community service or done something on campus through that student organization, make sure you highlight it. If you haven't been involved in a student organization, it's not too late. I say get involved as a member.
If we're in like a program for a scholarship, would you consider that more of a student organization? Because we do things to enable to keep us to have a scholarship, but then at the same time, it's also a scholarship, so it's like an awarded recognition.
Yeah.
So how would you, like, where would you? Because it's kind of both.
So the question was, if you received a scholarship but you give back for the scholarship, instead of being redundant and not putting it, whether it's in awards and recognition or in your education, slip it underneath either leadership or campus and community involvement and add your role and what you've done to be a part of that scholarship. That's what I would recommend. Any other questions? Yes?
Going way back up to the header, for the phone that we're supposed to give, cell phone or home phone, or both?
What do you answer the most?
Usually my cell phone.
I would use your cell phone then.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm jumping ahead, but your UA email address is not going anywhere. I would use your UA email address. It's the most professional, unless...
What if you made it professional email?
That's fine. I always have to put that plug. You'd be surprised what I see on a day-to-day basis.
Say you were just nominated for recognition, but you didn't get it, but the person who nominated you got the award.
So you've been recognized for an award?
Yes.
Or nominated?
Nominated.
You've been nominated for an award?
Yes.
And you don't know if you'll receive it?
Right.
Okay, good question. So it depends on what award and the relevance of that award towards your field. Technically, you should not add anything into your major until you have received it or you have completed it. So I'm going to say hold off at this point until you receive final confirmation that it's good as gold and it's in your hand. But with that being said, if you're nominated now but you aren't selected at the end of the day, I'd like to hear about it more because maybe we can slip it in there. What else? Yeah.
It might go back to the relevance thing and the date and stuff. Like when I was younger, I was a student ambassador. Is that something because it's something that I did and they gave me a worldly kind of like experience stuff? Is it something even relevant now, or just because it was too long ago that it would be kind of like should be swept beneath the table?
Is this in high school?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
right before high school.
So the question is in regards to the relevance of content from high school, and I would say not everything's going to go in your resume. I would hold off on that because it was. I don't want to devalue what you did as a, in high school or even younger. This can be a talking point in an interview. I don't throw anything away. So when I hear things like this, I wouldn't necessarily put it in your resume, but you can talk about it in your interview. I've been a leader in the community from a young age, as this is some of the organizations I was involved in. Any employer or any graduate school is going to know that's not going to be included into your resume now. So don't worry about that, but you can use it as a talking point in an interview. If you've been an active leader, I'm not going to devalue that. Since you were young, I'm not going to devalue that. I'm going to want to hear about it. I just would say let's leave it out of the resume and more so put it in the interview. What other questions? Okay. I'm going to see if we missed anything because I kind of have a tendency to go ahead of myself. These are 2 templates in regards to how you can write up your education. This has the GPA down here in the minor. So here I put the bachelor's on top. Down here I put the University of Akron. There's 2 different formats that you can consider. You'll see this on the resume guide online, and then I have a brochure up here. I know this is on Springboard 2 for you. Again, here's 2 different examples of how you can write up your work experience. So the top one has experience and then additional experience. So the experience that's relevant, I combined an intern, and this is for the, I put together something for the arts, and then the position title, you'll see down here the additional experience, just cut and dry with no responsibilities, just to show your background. Right here, I more care about the dates to show that you haven't been bored and you're currently still employed. Down here, this is just work experience in chronological order. And you can see the three positions that you've held in any form of employment and how you can add that in. Those accomplishment statements, don't be shy. Like I said earlier, don't be shy. Focus on how you made an impact. So these are some of the pointers. Focus on how you made an impact when you're struggling with coming up with those accomplishment statements for everything. Show results when and where you can. Have you supervised? How many people have you supervised? Have you trained? How many people have you trained? Have you held a position that gives back to an age range? Number drop the age range. Have you shadowed in many different backgrounds? Shows your diversity. Start every bullet with an action verb like we were saying. Transferable and learned skills, we always want to hear. Use terminology from your field. At the end of the day, you can find those action verbs sometimes right in your textbooks. Be concise, but still be detailed. Have you ever heard about resumes, more white space is better? It's actually, I enjoy the white space, but I like the more fine lines, and consistency is also better. Here's an example of a weak statement versus a strong statement. And then let me share with you, so onetonline.org. Is anybody familiar with this? Don't worry, put it in your favorites. So you can go into ONET online. You can find jobs through ONET. But you also can put in a job that you've held up there in that search engine. And when you put a job in, I use waiter and waitress as an example because probably about 8 times out of 10, the majority of us has probably held some kind of food industry position. When you put waitress, and I have a feeling that this is really hard to see in the back. This is descriptions. These are descriptor statements of what you have done possibly in that position. This will help you build up your resume. You can put any position in that search bank and it's going to give you a description of what that position entails and will allow you to build up your resume. Okay, so some quick resume reminders that I always like to focus on. Number 1, right off the bat, templates. If your resume is in a template right now, do yourself a favor and take it out of the template. Templates are very hard to manipulate. You're going to tab over and the whole thing's going to go right off the page. You're going to try and send it to somebody and it's going to be hard to give you edits, or it's going to be hard just to read. It's not going to convert over well. They're just hard to manipulate. Microsoft Office, Word, changes about every 3 years. God bless if they change their templates in the next 3 years and then you're stuck having to rewrite your resume. I would just make it a general Word document and you'll be safe. Another thing with templates that I usually find is that they take up a lot of space. Like the header line will take up a lot of space and then you're dipping onto page 2 with like 2 lines and can't get it onto page 1. Objectives. It's always a big question. They're optional. I always joke and say they kind of went out with the 90s. They kind of did. You don't need to put an objective in if you don't want to, if it comes down to space especially. Your cover letter is a long-winded objective at the end of the day. If you're going on to graduate school, I would say just get rid of it altogether because your personal statement is a longer-winded objective. I think I've talked enough about action verbs. Yes?
So you would move your objective to like your cover page then, if you have one?
So the question was, would you move your objective to your cover page? I would take the concept of your objective and definitely move it into your cover letter and elaborate on it. Avoid wordiness. I stated this earlier. You just want to... Oh, I'm sorry. No.
I noticed that you used a lot of bullet point format for like the resume. Is that preferred, or if you kept it all in like in line with like the left-hand column, would that be okay also?
Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's hard to read when it's all in line. Maybe if you indented it in a little bit, it won't be as hard to read. Bullets tend to be easier on the eyes. That's why I tend to use them. But at the end of the day, I want it to be your resume. So if you prefer no bullets and putting it all in line, one after the other, or putting it into paragraph format, it's your resume. I tend to move towards bullets because they're easy on the eye. So I mentioned first person, always first person in your resume. I mentioned the recruiters like numbers multiple times. I highlighted on your email being professional. Do not include graphics or photographs. I always include this because your resume should just be black and white. Graphics, photographs, usually those in the arts get away with the graphics and photographs and headshots. Always send a cover letter with your resume. Yes. Your complete application packet should include a cover letter, resume, and reference sheet. And I'm going to go over the reference sheet also. Proofread, of course. You don't want any errors or typos or anything of that nature. So I'm your extra set of eyes, your roommate's your extra set of eyes, family members an extra set of eyes. You have people that will read it. Okay, I'm going to go into cover letters. So does anybody have any more questions on resumes? Because I don't want to move on. If there's anything else that I left. Yeah.
If you coached, would you include the amount of people on your team? Or
Yes.
just, okay.
Definitely. The question was if you coached, how would you include the amount of people? And yes, you would. Yes, definitely.
Would you avoid color in your resume?
The question was, would you avoid color in your resume? You're talking to somebody who has high professional standards for you, and so I would say yes. Black and white. Black and white. Know your audience, but I get hesitant because a lot of times we don't know our audience, and the last thing you want to do is turn them away. Anything else? Well, you know where to find me. So if you have any questions, let me know. All right, I'm going to dive right into resumes. I already did that, excuse me. You can tell I've been talking a long time. I'm going to dive right into cover letters. I'm going to give you a little trick with cover letters. Cover letters are one page, always. So you can pull off a couple pages with your resume. Cover letters are one page. I'm going to give you a really easy trick that I like to share all the time because it's always about making it easy on yourself. Everything that you will apply to will have a job description. A cover letter is only needed for those that are applying for job positions. Graduate school, you don't need a cover letter. You're going to have your personal statement. So those that are applying to jobs now need a cover letter for everything that you apply to. If not, don't worry, you will eventually apply to a job. You will need a cover letter for every job that you apply to. With that being said, every job description that you get, this is my trick, take the time to dissect it. I like a little column in my life when I can put columns in my life. In column number 1, take the time to either type, write out, whatever works best for you, all the key skills that that position is asking of you. In column 2, start saying how you have that key skill set. Once you've done that, you just built up the body, the second paragraph of your cover letter. The body can be anywhere between 2 to 3 paragraphs. Anything left over, and usually you'll learn, holy smokes, I did that. That should be in my resume. You can plunk it right on into your resume. Anything left over also you can use in the interview. You want to keep some things left over to talk about in the interview. If you're still holding on to things, then hey, that's good news. You got a lot to talk about when it comes down to the interview. But at the end of the day, it just helps you build your cover letter. So, a couple things I want to say about the 3 areas of a cover letter. First paragraph, you always want to highlight the position, title, the place of employment. If you've done your homework and you have networked and you have somebody who has referred you to that position, name drop. Those are 3 key things that should be in that intro paragraph. The body is what you just dissected from the qualifications, and the concluding paragraph is brief. It does not matter that your contact information is at the top of your resume. Add in your cell phone or the best form of phone number to contact and email address into that concluding paragraph. Those are the key components. Final key component, an actual signature goes a long way. So add in an actual signature. Sincerely is still rule of thumb. Sincerely, space for your actual signature, and then you can type out your name. What kind of questions do we have on cover letter? None? Yeah.
What if, for the signature and stuff, what if you still got like a kindergartner signature? Like it looks better just print it out and it's actually cursive. Does that make sense?
Did you all know that they don't even teach cursive in school? I've been on my high horse about this. They don't even teach the young kids anymore cursive. I would say do your best. I'm just still blown away. You're going to have it written out. Sorry. I have been blown away about this for like a week. Makes me mad, actually. So the question was, for those up at LCC, do you have to, if your penmanship, just do your best. I would prefer an actual penmanship, and a lot of employers will. I'll get off my high horse about the cursive. It's just bothersome. Okay, so there's a lot of content up here. I recognize this, but I'm going to be condensed about sharing thank you letters. It's a must, period. It is a must. So you are going to provide a thank you letter to all those that you ask for a reference from. You're going to provide a thank you letter to all the places of employment that you apply to. You're going to provide a thank you letter to the graduate programs in which you apply to. Okay, so those that are applying to graduate school, you're going to meet probably multiple individuals. Send each person a thank you letter. Personalized. For applying to jobs, the likelihood for a small panel, meaning 2 people on up, is common. One-on-one interviews are not uncommon, but usually panel interviews are more common nowadays. You will, you will send a cover letter. Oh my gosh, I need to start over. You're going to send a thank you letter to each person on that panel. Once you have one thank you letter down, it's easy to recreate it for each person. There is a reason for this, and the reason is it is a small, small world out there, and you never know if down the road you apply to a position or need to ask that reference letter for another one, and you're going to want to be able to ask. The moment you don't follow up with a thank you, you might have just burned a bridge. I am a fan of the email versus snail mail. Send it in the mail. When all else fails, send it in the mail. You're going to pay $9.99 at Target to get, God bless you. You're going to pay for that nice stationery that you can get it at Target or Walmart for all of $9.99 for like 50 sheets of nice stationery, and they'll have envelopes in there. God bless you again. Just do a nice letter on that stationery and put it in the mail. It goes a long way. Pay attention to your audience, though, especially when it comes to references. If you've known them for a long time, and you have a great relationship built up, you can do a handwritten one as long as you're comfortable with your penmanship. What kind of questions do you have on the thank yous? Yes.
Is it ever too late to send a thank you? Like when you say for the reference letters, is that like if I'm applying to grad school, I need reference letters, and I ask people I should send one?
I would send one. I would send a...
Even if it was like a while ago?
Yeah. The question is it ever too late to send a reference? No. I would send one. Thank you for your support. Yeah. It's okay. Oh, it was a while ago, like 6 months ago? Then yeah, you're good. Okay, so professional references, since this will take us right into professional references. Graduate school, 3, 4 max, so somewhere between 3 to 4. When you ask for a reference, job or grad school, and job's the same, about 3 to 4, you can get more if you choose to. When you ask for a reference, provide all right, let me break this down for you. If you ask for a letter of recommendation for a job, provide them with your resume. That's all you have to provide them with, and when you need it by. If you're applying to graduate school, provide them with your resume and your personal statement and when you need it by. For those going into physical therapy, I believe you need to follow some guidelines with PCAS, so just be mindful of that. Of course, you're not going to ask for reference if you don't feel like they're going to provide you with a solid one. Follow your gut. As simple as that sounds, follow your gut when it comes down to letters of recommendation. You know you want a strong one. If you are applying for a PT, you know it's competitive. So get individuals who have seen your work through your undergrad, who know you, faculty. They need to be your best friend. They should be your best friend. I shouldn't say they need to be. They should be your best friend. You should have built at this point, whether job or grad school, you should have built a relationship with faculty members to ask for a letter of recommendation. If not, start doing so. And don't do it just for that letter of recommendation. Do it because you care about your future and your career, because you don't know where you're going in the next 10 years for the most part. Life happens. It can sometimes be intimidating to ask for a reference, of course. We're asking a favor. That's why I always say your copy of your resume, and for grad school, copy of resume and personal statement. When I was saying thank you notes, this is why it's important. Always provide them with a thank you note. So I have a rule of thumb with this. And like I said earlier, I have high professional standards for you for a very good reason, and this is one of them. You will provide them, I hope, with a thank you letter after asking. Thank you for writing a letter of recommendation in support of wherever you may be going. You're going to be offered a position or accepted into a graduate program. You're going to follow up with them. Thank you again for your support and encouragement. I have been accepted into Gannon University. It's the first one that right off the top of my head. Or I've accepted a position at Akron General Medical Center's Lifestyles. Whatever it may be. Keep them in the loop. Because you're going to get 2, 3, or 5 years of experience. You might want to reach back out to them. What kind of questions do you have in regards to professional resume or references? You have got to forgive me because I have been presenting since 7:30 this morning, and I feel like every other word is botched up. At least I beg of you. Yes.
For the references we choose, should we try to get someone that can like each reference be able to refer to you for different reasons, as in like one can tell you about like the character of the person, someone can tell you about the work ethic, things like that. It's best to kind of spread it out a little bit, not get the 3 people who are going to like say the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, if you have 3 people that are in the same field, and you know they're going to be strong letters of recommendation, you know they're going to give you high praises and high remarks, ask them.
Okay.
It does not, it really, it's not that it does not matter, because it all matters, but if you're going to get a strong reference from 3 individuals who have seen you academically maybe, or just professionally, it's a good recommendation. What other kind of questions do you have? Yes?
Is there like a certain format for the thank you letter, or it's just like professional?
So it's a good question, actually. You're already going to have your format together for your cover letter. Follow that format. You're going to include your address, date, their address, dear so-and-so, because at this point you're going to have some names to personalize it to, and then the body of your cover letter. Sincerely, and sign off. Okay, so that resume, that cover letter, personal statement, even a thank you letter, you all need an extra set of eyes. I am the career liaison to everybody enrolled in the sports science and wellness education. So I have my contact up here, so you can make an appointment with me to review any one of those documents. You also can do a walk-in. Again, I'm going to reiterate, if you started already applying to graduate school and need some guidance, I encourage you and I to sit down. Yes?
About how long is each appointment with you, just to know for like scheduling purposes?
I usually block off, and it's based on your schedule, your priorities or your academics. I usually block off 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on what you need to talk about.
All right.
I work 100% face-to-face in an appointment. I can even do a group appointment if it will make you feel better, or if you want to do that. I also work 100% through email. So when it comes down to your resume, your personal statement, even that cover letter, I always like to put a nice tight bow on it so that you can move on to other portions of the application process. What other kind of questions do you have? Okay, so a couple things I'm going to do. I have all of our events. I have a postcard for you. Thank you. I'm actually going to leave this up here because I don't know if everybody needs it or wants it. I work real closely with the Graduate Studies office here on campus. They're a lovely group. Every fall, every spring semester, they hold workshops for graduate school planning and the whole planning and process. This includes requirements. Is that all I have? Sweet golly. I think all my nursing students might have gotten them. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'll send it to you. How about I do that?
Yeah, she can, for those who didn't get one, I'll have Dorothy in Camps Mail, and I'll get the rest to you whenever they come.
Yeah. I would say that you can attend any one of these. The 2 that I would really like to highlight on, the career fair, we have over 100 employees here. My rule of thumb with the career fair is go. You have nothing to lose. Do a walk around, and then go back in and hit the places that you want to have a conversation with.
If you're planning on attending grad school, would the career fair still be beneficial for us?
You can always go. It's a great form of networking. The question was, if you're going to graduate school, should you go to the career fair? You can go. It's a great way of networking. If you choose not to go, you always can go as alumni. They're held every fall and every spring semester. That careers and healthcare panel, a PT will be there. So maybe this is a good fit for you if you're not going to attend the career fair. So I started saying graduate studies, they hold workshops fall and spring. They have a workshop coming up on the 17th, so this week. I did not bring copies of this for everybody, but I will make sure that you have this because I wasn't sure how many were going, and I was being mindful, and I wanted to give you the full copy. So I'll have this up here for anybody who's interested. I encourage, because that goes over the financial aid piece of it. I think on Springboard, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is a cover letter and resume guide. There should be an interviewing guide, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my
It's in the news section, right on the homepage. There are about 6 different handouts, everything you sent me.
Okay. And the job search guidelines. I'll make sure that that's up there for anybody who's interested. One's on September 17th. Actually, both of them are on September 17th. There's an afternoon and later in the evening, and then there will be another one in the fall semester, or excuse me, in the spring semester. Also, I have, and I know I have enough of these, so it's good. This is my contact information, so you always can email. Thank you. Nice bite my tongue. This is when I like run out of them. Hey. Hang on, I got backup. Thanks. How many more do we need here? Just one? Two. And this whole row? Yeah, you know how to find me. All right, this whole row? I do have backup on this.
Sucking up all your resources.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm still scared, but we should be good. I only have 4. Do we have a leftover over here? Like I thought I recognized you. We're set. All right. Okay, so I'm in the office every day, Monday through Friday, 8 till 4, or 5, excuse me, 8 till 5. I wish 4, sometimes that extra hour. 8 till 5. If you can't get in touch with me, unfortunately, you always can come in and meet with a peer advisor or an intern. But if you want to kind of come in, especially with grad school planning, let's make some time to meet. So you can contact the Career Center at the 972-7747. You can just walk in. You can email me also. I'm always accessible. Any other questions? Well, thanks so much. Yeah.
Background checks. If you've had several for different positions, do you mention those also?
They should be asking you about background checks, and they should be paying you, or not paying you, but they should be paying for those background checks. Good question, though, because if you need a background check, the University of Akron does offer that, the UAP. If you've had them, you shouldn't have to mention. You shouldn't have to mention that you have a background check. They'll ask you about that. That's usually like in the acceptance stage with the HR. Anything else? Well, come on in. Let's sit down. Let's make a plan. Especially if you're getting ready for interviewing. Don't wing it. Thanks again. I really appreciate